Hello and welcome to the 30k channel dedicated to games set in the Horus Heresy. We are your hosts. I'm David Brains.
I'm James Norman.
And we are back for another extra Horus Heresy game. And James, we've got a bit of a treat today, haven't we?
We do, yeah. We're delving back into the Black Books, and we have got a legendary mission for you today. Should be quite interesting. It's from Book 2, Massacre, and it is Vanguard Fury.
Now, you are in Eastern 5, and it's a defensive setup with the World Eaters defending 3, and I'm going to read this out quickly, target reciprocator Auspex towers.
Yeah, I think the idea is that before the main drop assault happens, the loyal legions that arrive, including the Raven Guard, have to knock out some of these Auspex towers to aid in their drop assault. And of course, they're defended by the traitor legions that are already on the surface, in this case, the World Eaters.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see the World Eaters in a defensive position rather than attacking Berserker Assault style.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's unusual to see them without Berserker Assault and unusual to see them using the Castellan Force Organisation chart. So they're out of character for them today, but I'm sure it'll all be about counter assaults.
Yeah, and the reason why we chose the World Eaters, we were going to use Sons of Horus initially, but we've changed to World Eaters because it's just that alternate list, and like I say, the Castellan Force Org chart that we're going to use for the World Eaters. So it just puts them in a different position because inevitably somewhere along the battles that they fought, they would have been in a defensive position.
Yeah, that's it, and particularly Isfahan 5, where they were waiting for the drop assault to occur and then launching their counterattacks. So a nice narrative running with this scenario today.
Yeah, so the battlefield we've got is the battlefield we used in a previous game between Alpha Legion and Imperial Fist. All I've done is the World Eaters have got an Aegis defense line with a comms relay, and I've already deployed that onto the board because it's kind of melded into the whole board itself. So there is that included in the army. And essentially, it's a fortification, defensive position where the World Eaters will take up residence in, and they will try and repel the Raven Guard.
And that's it. And for the Ravens, of course, it's all about destroying the objectives. What you have to do is actually destroy them with shooting or in assault. So, the Ravens need to concentrate on that because the objectives are worth 3 points each in this scenario. They are vital. The other secondary objectives will not be enough to overcome.
No, and that's a really key point. So these are the objectives. They're sort of comms relay station with a little computer and a desk, and then like a little tower. And there'll be 3 of those dotted around in the World Eaters deployment zone, and they're essentially a rapier carriage.
Yep.
They're toughness 8, 2 wounds with a 3-up armor, but they also have a 3-up invulnerable save as well against ranged attacks only. So they're probably a little bit more vulnerable in close combat. But James, you've got a whole ton of high strength, low AP weaponry.
That's it. Yeah, we've got some melter teams in drop pods. They are ideal for this scenario. I guess it's going to be up to the World Eaters to come up with a clever scheme to keep them away from the Auspex towers. But in assault, we've got a fair few units that can take them out as well with crack grenades, melter bombs. So yeah, it could be a tactically very interesting scenario, this one.
Yeah, and I think it's going to take a couple of turns to get going because both of the forces need divided into 2. We are using sort of the ambush deployment zone with a 36-inch ring and the 12 inches on from the Raven Guard. So we have to divide the force into 2, and then they come on by reserves. Not so much of an issue with the Raven Guard because you've also got your drop pod with a drop pod assault. Yes,
that's true. The drop pods don't count for that reserve rule. So really, I'm not going to start with many units deployed at all. So it will be quite vital, I think, for both of us that our reserves come in, particularly the Raven Guard. So yeah, it will be very interesting. We've got Alvarex Morn, so he should help.
I think if you're the Raven Guard, you play the smart game by trying to take the towers as early as possible, because even if you take 2 towers out, there's no real way that the World Eaters can claw the game back, because as James mentioned, the other additional points, the secondary objectives are Slay the Warlord and Linebreaker, which are only a point each.
That's it. So it's all about the Auspex towers, really, because if I destroy them, I get 3 points per tower. If I don't, you get 3 points per tower. So it really is all about them.
So really, you just need 2 towers and you've done it, really.
That's it, yeah.
So the World Eaters are going to have to work really, really hard to try and force the Raven Guard player, or James rather, to make different decisions about where he's going to shoot. Because inevitably, if the Melter team shoots into the Augury Scanner and destroys it, they're defenseless for a counter charge next from the World Eaters. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that works out. We've been through a couple of lists. We've remade them a couple of times just to make sure that they balance out. Let's not forget, the Raven Guard have got 2,500 points and the World Eaters have got 2,000 points.
Yeah, one of the scenario conditions. So it's quite hard work, I think, for the defenders, the traitors in this case.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting game. I'm quite keen on getting this started. And also, as well, I've never commanded World Eaters, so I'm really excited about that.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be a really tricky game, but no less very exciting. I think we should delve into the lists and then we will get going.
2,000 points of World Eaters using the Castellan Force Organisation chart, led by a Praetor, whose warlord trait is Master of the Vanguard. This force also includes, as a fortification choice, an Aegis defence line with a comms relay. The World Eaters are led by a Legion Praetor. He has a mastercrafted Paragon blade and digital lasers, and he is wearing Tartaros pattern Terminator armour, and he also has an Iron Halo. His warlord trait is Master of the Vanguard. First elite choice for the World Eaters is a squad of 8 Red Butchers. They all have twin power axes, and their leader, known as the Devoured, has 2 chain fists. Second elite choice is a Contemptor Mortis Dreadnought with twin Kerry's pattern assault cannons and a Havoc missile launcher. The first 3 troop choices for the World Eaters are 10-man tactical squads. They're all identical. They all have bolt pistols and chain axes. All 3 sergeants have power fists. 2 of the tactical squads are mounted in rhinos with dozer blades. Fourth and final troops choice for the World Eaters is a 10-strong Legion assault squad. They all have bolt pistols and chain axes, and their sergeant has a power fist. First heavy support choice for the World Eaters is a Legion Predator. It has a turret-mounted Predator cannon, heavy bolter sponsons, and a dozer blade. The second and final heavy support choice for the World Eaters is a 5-strong Legion heavy support squad. They all have autocannon, and their sergeant is equipped with an augury scanner. 2,500 points of Raven Guard using the Decapitation Strike Rite of War. They are led by Alvarex Morn, and his warlord trait is Coordinated Planet Strike. The Raven Guard are led by Strike Captain Alvarex Morn, and he has brought a dedicated transport in the form of a drop pod. He's accompanied by a Legion Praetor, who has a mastercrafted Thunderhammer, digital lasers, an Iron Halo, Camellia line, and melter bombs, and further accompanied by a 3-strong Legion command squad. The Legion Standard Bearer has a power fist. One of the veterans has a power axe and a combat shield. The other has a power fist, and all 3 of them have melter bombs. The first elite choice for the Raven Guard is a Legion veteran tactical squad. 10 strong, they all have combi melters and melter bombs. Their sergeant also has a power fist, and they are mounted in a drop pod as a dedicated transport. The second elite choice is a 6-strong squad of Cataphracti Terminators. They all have lightning claws, which have been upgraded to Raven's talons, giving them mastercrafted and rending, and their sergeant also has a grenade harness. The first 2 troops choices for the Raven Guard are both 10-strong Legion tactical squads. Their sergeants both have melter bombs, and they're both mounted in rhinos that are equipped with multi-melters and dozer blades. The third and final troops choice for the Raven Guard is a 9-strong Legion tactical support squad. They all have melter guns, and their sergeant also has melter bombs. They have a Legion drop pod as a dedicated transport. The Raven Guard have a single fast attack choice, which is a Legion Outrider squad. There are 4 bikers. They all have twin-linked plasma guns. They all have melter bombs, and the sergeant also has a power fist. This detachment's sole heavy support choice is a Legion Cistus assault ram. It has been upgraded to have wing-mounted missile launchers.
All right, that's it. James, you've deployed 2 rhinos.
Yeah, it didn't take long.
Man, I am a little bit worried. There's a lot of heavy firepower coming down in those drop pods. I've tried to deploy it as defensively as possible, and you'll see from the intro there that I've put the command modules well within the deployment zone. I haven't got a lot of reserves in myself. I've got 4 units in reserve, so they're going to come in hopefully quite quickly, and particularly with that comms relay, that will really help to get those reserves on and help to reinforce the World Eater's position. I think it's going to be a very tricky game to play, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
So let's get on with it. There's no seizing, so James will go first. He's got a ton of drop pods to come down and those rhinos to move up. But first, friendly handshake.
Yep.
Good luck. Mate. And we'll see you at the beginning of Raven Guard turn 1.
Raven Guard movement phase turn 1, and the battle has opened with the arrival of 2 of the Raven Guard's drop pods, starting with Alvarex Morn, the Praetor and the command squad. They have come down on this side of the defensive position in their drop pod. They managed to get a 4-inch move through cover. They are just climbing up this rock face. And on the far side of the installation, the veterans with combi melters have arrived. They tried to deep strike right on top of the walkway, but they scattered back. And unfortunately, that means the veterans are having to slog up this rocky surface as well to bring their combi melters to bear. The rhinos have moved. This one has moved 12 inches and the other one has only moved 6. It can spy one of the Auspex relays. It's going to try a cheeky multi-melter shot. Raven Guard shooting phase turn 1, and this rhino started off by missing the Auspex relay that it targeted with a shot from its multi-melter. The veterans, they are trying desperately to scrabble their way up onto the walkway that was their original target, but despite fleet, they have not managed it yet. The other rhino snapshot into the World Eater's tactical marines in front of them, but managed to miss, and over the far side of the installation, Alvarex Morn, the Praetor and the command squad managed to run up 4 inches, bringing some of them up onto the crest. That is the end of the Raven Guard's first turn. It isn't going well for them so far. Let's see how the World Eaters respond.
World Eater's turn 1 movement. The Mortis Dreadnought has moved, and he's moved on top of those crates to get a line of sight on the veterans with the melter squads. We need to kind of get rid of that firepower as soon as possible. The tactical unit here with the Praetor, they did try to get up on top of those crates to then charge the Raven Guard, but they only rolled a 3 for their move through cover, so didn't quite make it. I've just had to advance them across that little landing pad there. I guess in a way they are protecting that objective, and when the elements from this Raven Guard Rhino come out, they can probably deal with that. The Red Butchers have been left with nothing much to do, really. I mean, that's quite a formidable unit, and they are protecting that objective. So anything that James gets nearby, they can jump out and try and eat them if possible. And then the autocannon squad, James's drop pods, they did scatter a little bit, and I would have liked to have used their augury scanner to intercept them, but I couldn't really get a line of sight on any of the troops inside. So unfortunately, this autocannon squad has been a bit wasted, but they've moved around. 2 have stayed stationary and 3 have moved. So 3 will snap shoot and 2 will shoot normally at this command squad. It would be really nice just to kill 1 or 2 of those members. I've no doubt that squad there is going to come up and destroy the rest of those World Eaters in the Raven Guard's next turn. And then finally, the Rhino passed its dangerous train test and moved round just to bring its bolters to bear. If we can put a couple of wounds on that command squad, that would be great. Other than that, it's a very, very tricky first turn for the World Eaters. World Eaters turn 1 shooting. The autocannon squad fired. There was 4 shots up snap shooting, of which 1 hit, and there was 4 shots that were hitting on 3s. 4 hits total, and managed to put a wound on the standard bearer there. The Rhino then fired its twin link bolter. 2 hits, 1 wound, but James made his 2-up artificer save, which was good news for him. Next, we're going to move over to the Mortis. The World Eater's Mortis fired its Havoc launcher and the 2 Carey's Patent Assault Cannons into the veteran squad and managed to kill 5 of the vets with the combi melters. So that was a really good effort. The tac squad over here did fire 3 bolt pistols into the same unit, but failed to score any wounds. But other than that, not a bad round. We've taken some of those melters out, which will be crucial for the World Eaters' effort. But now we're gone to Raven Guard turn 2, and they're probably going to get some reserves in.
Raven Guard movement phase turn 2, and thanks to the careful planning and coordination of Strike Captain Alvarex Morn, all of the Raven Guard reserves have come in, starting with the Cistus containing the Terminators. It is heading straight towards the centre of the World Eater's position. Meanwhile, the bikes have also come on via outflank. They are eyeing up some World Eaters with their twin-linked plasma guns. One squad of Tactical Marines have deployed from their Rhino. They're going to give supporting fire. The veterans have finally managed to get onto the walkway that was their original objective, and they may well try to take on the Contemptor Mortis. Meanwhile, the other tactical squad have moved forward. They have not got out of their Rhino. They're going to give fire with their multi-melter once again, because in the centre of the World Eater's position, guided in by the Nightfall pattern Stratovox, are the tactical support squad in their drop pod. They have a very simple mission, and that is to take out these arrays with their melter guns. Alvarex and the command squad and the Praetor, meanwhile, they have moved up and they are getting ready to take on the World Eaters with autocannon. The Raven Guard are hoping that this is going to inflict a critical blow on the World Eaters this turn. Raven Guard shooting phase turn 2, and the Machine Killer Vets with their combi melters open the phase by getting 2 penetrating and 1 glancing hit on the World Eater's Contemptor Mortis, but the Atomantic shielding saved 1 penetrating hit and 1 glancing hit. Only 1 pen went through, and it has immobilised the World Eater's Dreadnought. That's not a bad result for the World Eaters. That is the combi melters on the veterans used now. The Raven Guard Outriders opened fire with their twin-link plasma guns on the World Eater's Praetor and his squad of Tactical Marines. Unfortunately, the first biker managed to detonate his bikes as both of his plasma guns overheated, but the remaining 3 bikers got 6 hits, 6 wounds thanks to preferred enemy independent characters granted by Decapitation Strike, and that meant 6 dead World Eaters. The Raven Guard Tactical Squad opened fire with a hail of bolter rounds into the World Eater's Praetor and his squad, helped out by preferred enemy, but they did not do very well at all. They managed to inflict 4 wounds on the squad in the end. 2 were tanked by the Praetor himself, and the other 2 were saved by the World Eater's power armour. Coming in on an attack run, the Cistus Assault Ram opened fire with its Magna Melter and its missile launchers. The 4 remaining World Eaters in the tactical squad leapt in front of their Praetor to protect him, and all 4 of them were blown to pieces, leaving the Praetor standing alone. Sensing its opportunity to be a hero, the Rhino spied the lone Praetor with its multi-melter, managed a hit and a wound, but unfortunately for the Raven Guard, the World Eater's Praetor made his Iron Halo save. The Raven Guard Tactical Support Squad opened fire on one of the Auspex arrays with their melter guns. They managed 6 hits, 3 wounds, and it only failed 1 save. It is damaged, but it is not destroyed. That's no points for the Ravens as yet. The Tactical Squad's Rhino tried to take the final wound off of this array, managed to hit with its multi-melter, but failed to wound. Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 2, and the Praetor and Alvarex Morn have led their command squad in a successful charge up onto this gantry, wading through a hail of Overwatch fire from the World Eaters. They managed to make their charge with a roll of an 8. At Initiative 5, Captain Alvarex stepped forward with his power sword, managing 3 hits but only cutting down one of the World Eaters. Then at Initiative 4, the remaining World Eaters responded, managing to inflict a couple of wounds on the command squad, but both were saved on their Artificer armour. At Initiative Step 1, the Raven Guard Praetor stepped forward with his Thunderhammer, managing to smash all 4 of the remaining World Eaters to pieces, and he and his command squad and Captain Morn have consolidated 1 inch. That brings Raven Guard Turn 2 to a close. It looks like they've inflicted a lot of damage on the World Eaters, but they have made very little impression on their objectives, and unlike the World Eaters, their entire army is now deployed. Maybe the World Eaters can wipe the Ravens away with a counterattack. We shall see as we go into World Eaters Turn 2. Just before the end of Raven Guard Turn 2, we'd forgotten that the Raven Guard veterans made their charge into the World Eaters Contemptor Mortis. The Contemptor Mortis opened fire with its Keres pattern assault cannons on Overwatch, managing to cut down one of the Ravens, but they still made their charge thanks to their fleet reroll. The World Eaters Dreadnought struck, managing to inflict a single wound on the veterans, but they made their armour save. Then the Sergeant went in with his Power Fist, inflicting 1 glancing hit on the Dreadnought, which is now immobilised. and that left it with 1 hull point, which was easily dealt with by 2 penetrating hits from melter bombs from the remaining veterans. And it has exploded, but it has not harmed any of the Raven Guard. They will consolidate 4 inches, and that does bring Raven Guard turn 2 to a close.
World Eaters turn 2 movement. Thanks to the comms relay allowing the World Eaters to re-roll their reserve rolls, we managed to get all of the reserves in apart from the 10-man assault squad. The Rhino and the 10-man tax have moved on the side of the board next to the other 10-man tax squads. The Predator has arrived also. The Rhino has moved into more of a defensive position to try and protect the comms relay there. And the Red Butchers have moved round to charge the Raven Guard to ride via drop pod, so that will hopefully clear that out. Although they have deployed their melters now, but it's still worth getting rid of them. And then at the top there, that command squad did a great job of getting up the side of that cliff there and assaulting the autocannon team. So they will inevitably claim that objective for the next turn. So I've still got 2 to defend. It's not looking too bad so far. We just need to make a really, really good impression on this turn. And hopefully this Praetor can charge the bike squad or the Raven Guard tax squad in front of them, just depending on how the shooting goes at the back here. World Eaters shooting phase turn 2. The Rhino fired its bolter, 28 bolter, into the bike squad. Got 2 hits but failed to wound. And then the 2 tactical squads opened up on the Raven Guard tactical squad in front of them. Both got 4 wounds, but only managed to kill 2 Raven Guard. So pretty terrible. The World Eaters Predator fired its 2 heavy bolters and autocannon at the Raven Guard squad on the gantry there. All weapons hit apart from 1 shot from the autocannon, which was fantastic news, but only managed to kill 3 Raven Guard. They did then pass their leadership test. World Eaters turn to assault phase. A little bit more luck this time, so that's good news. The Praetor declared a charge against the bikes. They shot over Overwatch, got 2 hits, but the invulnerable save was made on the Tartarus Pattern Terminator armor, but they did lose 1 to Gets Hot, and the Praetor made his charge. So that's a really good start. The Red Butchers then declared a charge against the tactical support unit. No Overwatch fire coming in, so that was good news. They made their charge in. The Raven Guard attacked back, caused 1 wound on the Red Butchers. The Red Butchers will now get to attack at Initiative 1. At Initiative 1, the Butchers struck. We only needed to roll 3 because they did enough wounds to wipe the entire squad. So that was really good news. And then they consolidated 6 inches. So they've just spread out a little bit. I'm aware that Castus has a large blast marker on it with its melter. So we'll see what happens there next turn. But they have staunchly defended that objective. At Initiative 5, the Praetor went in with 7 attacks from his mastercrafted Paragon Blade, hit 4 times, and those 4 hits converted into wounds and wiped the attack bikes from this combat. He then consolidated 5 inches, so some really good news. Although not a bad turn for the World Eaters, I am a little bit concerned now. The contents of this flyer will come down and might get an assault to the Praetor, or they might just go straight for that objective. We have tried to shield it with the Rhino as best as we can. Other than that, it might force the Raven Guard to make a few decisions about what they're doing, but I'm a little bit worried about this command unit on top of the gantry there. I think that's 1 objective lost for the World Eaters, but we shall see what James has got in store for me next.
Raven Guard movement phase turn 3, and a lot of careful thought has gone into this. And since the Red Butchers are just 1 squad, the Raven Guard are thinking that they can't defend the objective from all angles. So this tactical squad have deployed from their Rhino. The Rhino is preparing to give fire on the objective with its multi-melter. This objective was damaged by the tactical support squad, so it's only got 1 wound remaining. So we're hoping that either the tactical squad, the Rhino, or the single veteran that has dropped down, readying his melter bomb, can take it out. Meanwhile, on top of the gantry, Alva X Morn, the Praetor and the command squad, they are very confident at dealing with this objective. So they are leaving it to all of the Ravens over this side on the landing pad to try and assault and deal with the last objective. The tactical squad have moved past the Praetor. They have fleet. They're going to try a sneaky charge over the crates with their crack grenades and their sergeant's melter bomb to try and take out that one. Meanwhile, the Terminators, they have been very, very cautious. They are going to try to use the firepower of their Sisters to deal with the World Eaters' reinforcements before they deploy. And finally, the Raven Guard Rhino has moved across to open fire on the Praetor with its multi-melter and block off some of the approaching horde of World Eaters. Raven Guard shooting phase, turn 3, and the last surviving veteran chucked a crack grenade into this objective with only one room remaining. He hit, but it didn't wound. And the lead tactical marine approaching also threw a crack grenade, which also hit and didn't wound. But as so often is the case, it's the humble Rhino that has done the trick, managing to hit with its multi-melter and wound, and the objective failed. Its 3+ invulnerable save. It has been destroyed, and this battle now has swung decidedly in favour of the Raven Guard. The Raven Guard Rhino opened fire on the World Eaters Praetor with its multi-melter, but managed to miss. The hovering Sisters unleashed its Magna Melter upon one tactical squad of World Eaters, incinerating 5 of them, and another one was taken out by one of the wing-mounted missile launchers. That is the end of the shooting phase. It looks like the Ravens have a good chance to take out more objectives as we go into their third assault phase. Raven Guard assault phase turn 3, and thanks to fleet, these Raven Guard tactical marines managed to charge 11 inches, scaling the crates and dropping down on the objective in the centre, and of course up on the gantry. Morn, the Praetor and the command squad, they easily made their charge. They're getting their melter bombs ready. The 6 Raven Guard that could attack the objective placed their crack grenades on it and managed to inflict a single wound that was not saved, but that objective still has 1 wound remaining. But it's a different story on top of the gantry, as between the Praetor's Thunderhammer and all of the melter bombs, the command squad easily destroyed that objective. And that is 6 points for the Raven Guard. So technically, there is no way the World Eaters can win other than by destroying every Raven Guard unit on the table.
Wow, James, that was a bit sad.
It was extremely sad.
Game ended at the end of Raven Guard turn 3. A little bit disappointed, but we have a lot to say about it.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot that needs discussing, I think, about this scenario in particular, and the nature of the legendary missions, I think, as well.
Yeah, you know, James and I have got this really unique opportunity to try lots of the Black Book games and do other things, and we can kind of spend a bit more time on doing missions and things. And, you know, this Vanguard Fury mission, I think fundamentally is quite flawed.
I think, yeah, there's a lot of things in the mission rules. I wonder why they're there. When I think the attacker already has a huge advantage in this mission, to be honest. And that showed, really. I don't think the Raven Guard did particularly well. Their melter teams did virtually nothing with their shooting against the objectives, and yet it was still easy to assault and destroy them, or even destroy them with close range fire so early in the game. I'm not sure what the World Eaters could have done. I don't know why the defender has less points than the attacker in this mission, to be honest.
I guess the thing is that the list lends itself to a very heavily fortified position. You know, you need like 10 las cannons or 3 quadruped displays arrays and that sort of thing. But then I don't think that's a lot of fun.
No, I don't think so. It would end up becoming a shooting match. If you castle up around all the objectives, then it would end up just becoming a shooting match where the attacker's probably best off just bringing heavy support squads and Sikaran tanks and things. And I don't think that's what they intended with this mission. I mean, the name of it's Vanguard Fury. It's set in the Urgal Depression. It's supposed to be a planet strike to knock out these objectives. Yeah. They just made it too easy to kill the objectives, I think. They don't have enough wounds. If you can put a lot of fire on them, they go down too easily.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? You know, if you're the attacker, you'd be smart to bring loads of heavy weapons teams, like you said, a Sikaran, you know, even the 2 quad las cannons on a Spartan would do the job. And all you need to do is get a reasonable line of sight, stay out of the firing range of the defenders, and just shoot the objectives. And as soon as you get 2, you've instantly won the game, because the defender can't get enough points to claim the mission back.
Yeah, that's another thing about this mission. We're not sure why Slay the Warlord and Linebreaker are even in there because they can't have an effect on the mission.
No.
I understand that this is a narrative scenario, and we think the battlefield looked very cool. It was so nice. Isfahan 5, the Raven Guard launching their initial strike. That was good. If you play these missions, bear in mind that they are narrative missions, I think, because the balance in this one particularly was a bit lacking.
It is, but also I think the negative thing about it is that if you want a reasonable game out of it, you have to be really gamey. So you have to then put your objective in a wall of crates with like a 1 inch by 1 inch opening.
No.
So there's only like one line of sight through the whole entire, and then it gets really gamey after that. So
that's why we didn't carry on the game, in fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
The World Eaters can go for the wipeout, but I'm in a position where I'm running rhinos around the board. I don't think it's it's a particularly good game.
That's why we called it, because we're both reasonable, seasoned gamers, and we both looked at each other and said, well, the way the World Eaters can win is to wipe the Raven Guard out, right? So then James said, well, all I'm going to do is run the rhinos flat out to the edges of the board, and then the Caestus, I keep pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah, Cistus.
Yeah. And then the Cistus just needs to go to the end of the board on the other side of the board, and then the World Eaters just cannot get to it. So
I wouldn't want to play like that.
No.
I wouldn't want to do that.
If you're at a tournament and you want to win a scenario, then that is the way to do it. But, we like to think we're a bit of a balance between a narrative and a tournament kind of style thing. And it was just a really easy win for the Raven Guard. So it doesn't quite work. The ways to address the mission perhaps would be that maybe the attacker has to destroy all 3 of the objectives.
Yes, I think so, yeah, because the Raven Guard didn't quite manage that, and with all the World Eaters reinforcements turning up, that would well have made it a close game.
It might have helped, I think.
Yeah, that's it, but we decided at the start, because we did discuss the mission, that we thought, well, this has been designed by the Forge World design team, we're going to stick with the rules and see how it plays out, and this one is too easy for the attacker.
Yeah, it wasn't quite there. We discussed maybe using 5 objectives to make it a little bit harder. But again, even if you'd got 3, it's still a runaway.
Yeah, that's it. And so I don't think the Raven Guard did particularly well. Their melter teams didn't really have any impact. Their firing was very average, but it was too easy to get to those objectives. And they've only got 2 wounds, which makes them not that hard to knock out in shooting or assault. Maybe the objectives could be a lot tougher. I don't know. There's a few things they could do.
Yeah. The other objection, of course, is that you could argue that perhaps the defenders list wasn't quite there. But then the counter to that would be, well, if the attacker just brought a Spartan and a Fire Raptor, they could have picked them off without even getting close to the defender. And most lists in Heresy usually have a Spartan, or they have a Fire Raptor, or they have some reasonable long-range firepower. And, because you combine those 12 inches, you can more or less guarantee your line of sight on the beginning of turn 1. And, if you've got 8 las cannons or you've got 9 auto cannons, you're probably going to do it, aren't you?
That's it. Just throw as many dice at the objectives as possible. And the defender is constrained with the Castellan Forsorg chart as well, which really limits what you can take. So it's just hard for the defender all round. So if you want a challenge, try and win this as the defender, because it's a good mission if you're looking to challenge yourself in that way. Yeah,
we might try this again in the future, but we might heavily tweak the mission. I really love the idea that of the scenario and the story that it tells. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, and I think the way it looked on the battlefield was fantastic. Really conjured up the narrative images of the Ravens launching the first assault on the Urgal Depression to knock these things out. Yeah, great. So in terms of narrative, great mission. In terms of balance, you might need to look elsewhere.
It's not the best. But we gave it a go. Although it was a very short game, I really hope you enjoyed everything that we set up for it, the armies and the board. And we did really give it a good go, I think.
We did, that's it, I think we tried to, well, you tried your best to defend the objectives, and it's not easy.
It's not there. Never worry though. I've taken a few photos. Obviously, we only went 3 turns. I've taken a few photos. They will go out on the Facebook page when this game has been released. I think for what it's worth, it's worth a watch just to see how it unfolds. But anyway, that's it. We've given it a go. James, thank you for the 3 turns of fun.
Thank you, mate. Yeah. I'm off of mission picking duty going forward. So.
It's all good. We will return with a new game very, very soon. We'll see you in the next one.